Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be replacing the battery in this early 2015 MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina model. So to do this job I ordered a new battery kit from Amazon, and we can see in the kit we've got a new battery right here, but we've also got some tools. We've got a scraper to remove the old battery, and we've got a few tools to remove the screws. So looking at the screwdrivers supplied, we have got a P5 Pentalobe, a T5 Torx, and a Phillips head screwdriver. So quite a useful kit. I'll put a link in the description to the video. So the first thing that we want to do is to ensure the battery is completely drained. So we switch it on and let it go flat. As you can see here, my MacBook Pro is already dead flat. We then want to remove the back cover, and that is by removing all of the screws around the perimeter. Now, use one of the Pentalobe screwdrivers supplied in the kit. As you can see, I've actually already removed all of the screws, but I've laid them out on this piece of cardboard, just stuck sticky tape, just so that I can make sure they go back to the correct holes, because the truth is, the two screws on the inner side on the hinge are actually a slightly different size. But the easiest way is to ensure that you've got them marked out so they all go back to the original hole which they came out of. So with all of those screws removed, we can then lift off the cover like that. Put that to one side. Now what we can see with this battery is that a couple of these cells are actually already bulged. So that's obviously the issue that we've had with this MacBook Pro. With the battery dying, is the bulge cells have probably caused an open circuit. So the first thing before we do anything that we're going to do is to remove the power to the battery. So we lift up this protective cover here. Just like that. And then using a plastic tool, we just lift up the power connection. And that has disconnected the power to the battery. So the next step is to remove the speakers. We've got one speaker here and one speaker here, and each speaker has actually got 3 screws. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Now in the kit that was supplied, as I mentioned earlier, there's 2 Pentalobe screwdrivers. We want to use the larger one. Now we use the smaller one to remove the cover. So we simply put the screwdriver in and take those screws out. And just put them to one side and onto the other side, laying them down in the orientation which they actually come out, because you can see they're slightly different lengths. So with the screws to the speakers removed, we can carefully lift up those speakers and just be delicate with this wire here, and we can put that to one side, and the same for this side. We can just put that to one side gently there. Next, we need to remove the trackpad cable. So we can just undo the screws to this cover up the top here. That's once again with the larger Pentalobe screwdriver. Just put those screws to one side, keeping an indication of exactly where all the screws need to be returned. And we can remove that guard. And then we can just lift up this connector here. Now, that has actually got enough access to get the battery out. So with all of the connections removed to the battery, we now need to remove the battery. Now, this is stuck down with glue. So what we do is we use our plastic tool to actually come in under the battery really carefully, just to pry it up. This plastic tool was supplied with the kit. There you go. I'm just being really careful because we actually don't want to puncture the cells at all. So just wiggling it backwards and forwards there. And then when it comes to the center battery, we just need to come up a fraction because there's a little bit of a lip because of the trackpad. And then finally, I've got this little Pentalobe screw just at the top there, holding the battery in. Pop that out, and the old battery is removed. Now as you can see, we were able to get that old battery out without puncturing that at all. And we'll just clean up a little bit of this excess glue there. All right, so with all of that glue removed, I did that off camera. We now go to our new battery. There's two sides. We've got a blue side and a normal side. We want to remove the film first with the blue side, and that just shows us then the glue, which will stick down that battery. Put that to one side, and then what we want to do is to place the battery into position. So we carefully do that, because once it's down, it is down for good. So bring it in underneath our trackpad. Want to place the locator spots there. Importantly, line up our screw, which is going to have the battery go in. Pretty much like that. Push that in like that. Then the first thing I'm actually going to do is to screw that screw in. So with that lined up, we can screw that holes of the battery in. There we go. And then we can push the rest of that battery down into position. Now with that battery in position, we can remove the white plastic film on this side. So the first thing we want to do then is to reconnect our trackpad. So we just bring that up into position and carefully press that back down, and then put our bracket back on. Once again, this is the smaller of the two Pentalobe screwdrivers that were in the kit. Then we'll start by putting back the right hand speaker into position and pop our screws back in.
Next, we move on to reinstalling the left speaker.
And then the final thing to do is to reconnect the battery connection. Push that down firmly. And to put our cover back on our MacBook Pro. Now, before I actually put the screws in, we'll flip it over and we will test the MacBook Pro. Now, we'll start by doing a PRAM and SMC reset. Now, the batteries aren't typically shipped fully charged, so we'll just plug the charger in before we do that. So Control, Option, Shift on the left-hand side and press the power button. And the light should go to green and then back to orange. So now we're going to do the P and R reset. So we press the power button to switch it on and do Command Option P and R. So we wait for the second chime before we release our fingers off of the keys so that we know that the P and R reset has been done correctly. So hearing the chime, that is successful. And as you can see, the MacBook Pro is booting. So we're good to flip it back over and put those screws in, and then we are done. So as I said in the beginning, it's important to put the screws back into the same positions which they came out. So I marked them here, and we'll pop them back in the exact same positions that they came out using the smaller Pentalobe screwdriver.
So there you go, folks. There's how to quickly and easily replace the battery in your early 2015 13-inch MacBook Pro Retina. If you have liked this video, folks, do feel free to like this video. And if you're interested in any other general DIY, tech, home or automotive, do remember to subscribe to the channel. But until next time, have a good evening.